Okay, irony of ironies. This morning I hear people bitching about the contents of their email for the past 10 years being dumped on the internet. I said, can you believe this? Who's bitching about this? The people associated with Hillary Clinton and her unsecured email server, and they're complaining that their email was actually hacked into and captured and collected by some foreign actor and published on the internet without their approval or their knowledge, or even until it happened. I said, I can't believe this, that these same people who were associating so closely and supporting so fervently the election of Hillary Clinton to the office of president, despite all this activity with unsecured servers and classified information going out on the internet, that they're actually complaining about WikiLeaks. This is unreal. What is it that these people don't understand? If you don't handle your information in a secure manner, embarrassing and potentially harmful and dangerous information will be released to the public. That's what it's all about. That's exactly the point here. Anyway, so on the other side, yeah, ever since I put out this last video about Trump, I've been taking it on the chin, so to speak, about how he's a sexual predator and all this kind of stuff. And the worst thing about it is when you go back and look at the older videos, not even the new videos, but the older videos about Donald Trump and his various gaffes in social media. But I still say this, it's amazing that these people are talking about how uncouth, unpolished, unsophisticated, whiny, immature, all this kind of stuff Donald Trump is. Okay, but does that mean that Hillary Clinton is a better candidate for president? And that's what the real issue is. Yes, maybe there was a point in time where the slightest hint of mental instability or whatever would disqualify somebody for president. And yes, that's absolutely true. But what is I don't give a fuck about national security, and I don't give a fuck about classified information, and I don't give a fuck about information security or following regulations or anything like that? What happened to the Marie Antoinette being unsuited for holding the highest public office? What I guess the thing is that we're at a point now where we're very well aware of what disqualifies a man for public office, but we're still trying to figure out what disqualifies a woman from public office, or is this just a presidency? Honestly, have we gotten to the point where we're so worried about being critical about women that women can get away with crap that men could never get away with? Is that really what the problem is here? And we're still yet trying to feel our way across the boundaries between male and female criticism, or male criticism of females, female criticism of men. It's well established. Women criticize men all the time. It's well established. Men criticize men all the time. But what do we do about women who should be criticized for things other than just being a bitch? Okay, what do we do? We're taking Hillary Clinton with kid gloves, okay, when we shouldn't be. We're talking about the presidency. But I'm starting to think that the real problem is, it's not just that neither one of these two should be president because they're not emotionally prepared to be president or good candidates for president. That neither one of these two should be president because neither one of them can really be trusted with the office of presidency. Donald Trump is an immature asshole who strikes back at people who criticize him. Okay, but and he's got a certain point. Maybe if people didn't criticize him so much, he wouldn't be striking back at them so much, and there wouldn't be an issue in the first place. Because it does seem a lot like the problem here is that people shouldn't be criticized for the criticisms of Donald Trump. And that's sort of like a little bit of hypocrisy there. But again, the problem is when you're running for president, you have to take into consideration that your behavior has to be above those who criticize you. Okay? But that isn't happening with Clinton either. She's not above criticizing Donald Trump at all. Not in the slightest, or any of his campaign followers or talking heads. He's not above criticizing them at all. Okay? It's an issue of everybody's criticizing everybody else, but nobody thinks they should be criticized. Okay, fine. The office of presidency is an exalted position, and very few people should qualify for it. But it seems like so far nobody is qualified to be president. That's the real problem. But having said that, I still say she should be under indictment at least, okay? That is a given that she should be under indictment at least, okay? And that, I think that's a fault of the Obama administration, and I certainly see that as a good reason not to support a Democratic candidate for office. It's like if Nixon, everybody knew that Nixon had hired burglars to break into the Democratic National Convention headquarters in the Watergate. Everybody knew about it, but no one was ever charged. Nobody was ever charged. Imagine what would happen if Nixon got away with it, because the FBI didn't even charge him. If he hadn't resigned, what would have happened in American politics? He would have finished out his 2 terms. He would have maybe even been reelected. Who knows? Or at least, a Republican would have been elected instead of Carter. Maybe, what would have happened if that had been enough? If he had just stayed in office, if he hadn't showed some degree of integrity and resigned. That's where we are now. We're in a situation where everybody's talking about how you have to be perfect, but nobody wants to admit that they're imperfect and quit. Nobody wants to quit. Nobody wants to resign. Everybody needs to be forced out. Everybody needs to be arrested. If you really want to talk about ethics, the woman should resign. It's that simple. If you really want to talk about ethics, Donald Trump should say, okay, you know what? Hey, okay, I did this, I was wrong, and maybe I need some counseling and all this kind of stuff. Maybe I shouldn't run for the presidency. Maybe the real question is they both should resign. But no, we have to reject one of them or the other. And I think it just does come down to the fact that some people have much more of a problem rejecting Trump than they do Clinton, and some people have much more of a problem rejecting Clinton than they do rejecting Trump. And I personally can say that is a major problem. Neither one of these candidates really should be president, yet we have to vote for them. And this is, I think, a fault not just of the American people, it's also a fault of the Democratic and Republican parties. Reince Priebus and the GOP should have at some point said, sorry, okay, you can't be our candidate for president. We cannot allow you to be our candidate for president. And if it's a simple case that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party had to nominate these people because they won the primaries, okay, what happens if they suddenly become, switch parties? What happens if they suddenly switch platforms? What would it take to get the parties to disavow these candidates? I think that's the real question. And I understand that the Democrats don't have the issues with Hillary Clinton that the Republicans have, which is even worse. Okay, at least a lot of the Republican the GOP party is actually up in arms about Donald Trump. Why is no one saying that Hillary Clinton shouldn't be the Democratic nominee, except the Bernie Sanders supporters who were shafted in the convention? Where is the outrage on the Democratic side against Clinton?